enhancement of its environment. I would submit that goes for roundabouts too, but I'm talking now about this noise ordinance. There were concerns about a previous noise ordinance that was submitted, and I want to just point out the exceptions that are here in the noise ordinance. Noise from the provisions of this law shall not apply to noise from lawnmowers and related lawn equipment, snow blowers and snow plows. We could throw in chainsaws in there if you wanted to, but maybe we don't, since there's going to be a lot of chainsaws going on. And this noise ordinance says daylight hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So this is all about protecting ourselves. If this compressor and the pipelines are coming, we need to have something in place if we're going to have recourse. If those guys start running their chainsaws at 6 a.m. because they want to get going, we should have something in place, some recourse that we can go to. Sound from a farm. I know that was something that was brought up before. It's right in here. This is an exemption. Sound from a farm within an agricultural district designation that result from construction, repair, day-to-day activities, and or emergency work that is done in the pursuit of farming. It's all in here, and that's the point, I think, of this noise ordinance and what's been recommended to us by other people who are living with compressors. Protect yourselves. Protect yourselves. What we have on the books now I don't think is sufficient. I really believe this is so detailed it gives the town recourse when those chainsaws are going, or if that compressor is built and they're going above the noise levels. If we don't have something in place, there's going to be nowhere to turn. You know, we'll have no legal ground to stand on. So there's much more details in this, and I encourage y'all to read it if you haven't yet. So the last thing to end up with my question, and I almost want to ask it of each of you board members, are you resolved to protect the town and its inhabitants? And will you resolve to do so by having a public hearing on this draft, right? It's open to editing, that's what it's all about, on this noise ordinance. You can answer all at once or one at a time. Thank you.
I'm against the noise ordinance.
Me too.
So am I.
I am against a noise ordinance.
I am too.
This one, well.
It's a way to create a lot of trouble between neighbors. Everybody can complain about his neighbor's noise.
Well, we have done some research on it, and we have heard from actually our new lawyer firm that did that noise ordinance for Windsor, and she said there's good and bad to every noise ordinance. They really haven't. There's more enforcing by Public Service Commission. Supposedly, she was telling us that the noise levels that they have are set at like 35 decibels. Can vary up 5 decibels during the day, and then at night it could be 3 higher than 35. And so they actually have more stringent levels than what your noise ordinance is talking about. And they also have the right to say your noise ordinance is too restrictive, or throw it out or whatever too. So at this time, I know I'm not for it. It's something we haven't thrown out. You know, it's still a consideration. I'm not saying it's high on our list either. I'm not lying to you.
No.
You know, but you know, at this time we're learning more about noise ordinances, and the firm that we are taking on now as our legal representation, you know, has a lot of experience in all this. So we will, you know, when we visited with them, or when I visited with them, you know, they, you know, so there's good and bad to a noise ordinance, you know, whether you can enforce it or whether you can't, you know. And so far, it hasn't been you know, it's not something that, yes, it's 100%, it's gonna work, blah, blah, blah. It's something that has got some merit, and there's also merit against it. So I'm thinking about it still, and it's not a dead issue, but, you know, we haven't got on life support yet.
So do you feel that what's on the books now is sufficient to protect everyone when the construction and the compressor comes in with the knowledge we have of?
Well, if it's not the compressor, if you're talking construction, anytime there's a house being built, anytime there's anything being built,
Yeah,
that causes extra noise, normally, extra trucks, extra traffic. And it's not the extreme of the pipeline, I agree with that. But it is, and not for the time frame. I'm hoping, when and if it does happen, that it's a 6-month ordeal and they're done. If it doesn't happen, it won't hurt my feelings either. You know, because it has brought a lot of extra interest to the board, you know. And so I think, okay, we'll move on to another person. Somebody else that wants to speak? Yes.
Jeff, I just think you contradicted yourself, because the first response was, I'm against the noise ordinance, and then 3 sentences later you said, well, I'm thinking about it.
I'm against doing, I'll explain myself. I'm
Okay.
against going to the public hearing, bringing it to the public at this time. You know, I haven't, as I told, last meeting, we don't want to, if we take a vote now and it gets killed, then I presume it's a done deal. As long as we keep talking about it, it's still open to the public. Take it to more people, if you want to. Yes, I'm not, at this time, I'm not gonna ask for a public hearing next month for a public law, I'm not for that. But I'm saying, we have talked to a lawyer, and I wanna talk to a lawyer more about it and find out more. I'm not saying it's 50-50, but I'm not saying it's 99-1. I mean, that's, I'm sorry if, at this time, no, I don't want to go forward with the public meeting on the local law for noise ordinance. No, I'm not for that at this time.
Okay, so can you retract, I'm against an ordinance? Can you just say?
I'm against going to a public meeting, on a public meeting to adopt a law ordinance, noise ordinance. I guess that's, I'm sorry it got shorted that way. But I'm still, it's still there, it's not dead, but we have talked, I talked to the lawyer and the one that wrote Windsor's noise ordinance, and she told me flat out that there's good and bad to all of them. It isn't 100% right, but it's not all wrong. So she's not even, I guess, sold that it is a cure for the common compressor station. No, you've already spoke once.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just
So
wanted to ask a question
just-
on that.
We'll just go to
Yeah.
are we done, ma'am? Okay. Okay, Roger?
I just like to think the first time they built a compressor station, this isn't their first pipeline, they go put a noise ordinance in. What happens if I asked this before, if they build it below that level, to insulate the building, they have special stuff that they can use to insulate that with. What did you accomplish by doing that?
Good question.
Now we're, like I said, now we're downstate New York.
Well, the
There's no
unfortunate
more
part,
local.
this is gonna benefit downstate New York and New England, and I'm afraid further than that,
Not
but,
local either. I mean,
okay. Is that it, Roger?
yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
I'd like to talk about something else, but I'll do it later. I just wanted.
No, it's done, you're all done, we'll go on. Okay,
I was here 30 years ago, they put the power line in. I was told it was coming. Obviously, they cut through the woods to put that in. Maybe with the experience of this board, if you can go back and remember how that was, and how the experience was for you guys 30 years ago, or 25 years ago.
well,
Maybe these guys weren't that, they
I wasn't involved with that at all.
No,
But
obviously
Don
it
was on the board at that time, and he may have some,
And
some
eventually,
response to
maybe
it.
that can show some light to everybody.
right,
And not tonight, because, you have to, go back
but
25 years ago.
there's 3 of them coming, three improvements on the power lines right now,
Yeah,
coming forward.
that would shed some light on how
That's
the experience was for the town itself. 25 years ago. I know, this is what we got.
This is what we got.
I mean, I still think we should be getting a royalty off of the pipeline going through. I would demand a royalty
Right.
and not just tax money.
We don't get any tax money from Marcy.
No, I know, but I would like to have a royalty off the gas.
I agree, the gas company, the power company,
Tremendous.
we're not benefiting from it, we should. And we have nothing, and the only ones benefiting is the city. But there's 3 high lines in this township that they are talking to expanding. All, whether 1 or 3 of them, I'm not sure, but they are talking about the 3 of them. And it's getting closer and closer. And I told them in Delhi, boy, wait till you get to Franklin. These people are wound right up already. They're gonna, you won't know what hit you. But, it is an issue. I mean, we're the center of, we're in the middle of nowhere. Votes, people, if we do not benefit from this, something's wrong. And at this time, we're not. Maybe we can get something. I'm not sure if we can or not. But it's going through because New York City says it needs it. New England says they need it. The populations, you can't tell me that, 8 million people haven't got more clout than 47,000 people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming through us, stomping on us. I've always thought the shortest line between 2 points is a straight line. And between Pennsylvania and New York City, sure as hell isn't up through Scary. That's about as simple as it gets. Paul? No? So, it's very unfortunate that we're situated in the wrong spot. Okay, somebody else?
Why do we support it?
Who's supporting it?
Who's supporting it? That's what you just said.
Oh, you're not supporting it? Oh, good.
What are we getting out of it? I'm not here. The pipeline, I think it's the right way to move fuel.
But it's in the wrong place.
We're not benefiting from it. That's, if we're gonna have it go through our township.
It's the cheapest route, and that's why they're there. The cheapest pipe, the cheapest route.
I haven't seen figures on that. I don't know that for a fact.
They got to use more expensive pipe if they were down in the I-88 corridor. They can use the cheapest pipe because of the population.
You just said it, population, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's why it's coming here.
That's right, because we're being
Whether it's a
treated
cheaper
like
pipe or not,
we're being treated like a third world
the
country.
fewer people,
Throw us a
people
few
be involved.
crumbs and then.
But that's something that we have not got any control about. I've got a resolution that we'll bring forward after we get the discussion done here. Is there anybody? Yes, go ahead.
This is my Earth Day request, because it's April.
Okay.
Okay. But first I wanted to thank Lisa for the follow-up information on emergency preparedness in the last meeting. If it's just the pipeline that explodes or catches fire, I guess there really isn't anything to do but wait for the pipeline people to show up, which in light of this now Kinder Morgan is like, will it be CP or Kinder Morgan? And so now you've got twice the blast and fire, and are they gonna pull the short stick to see who comes to the event? But anyway, last month we talked about water and roads. Water is private, roads are public. I respectfully disagree, as I live in the village with public water supply. Our town board supervisor, Jeff Taggart, advised, though, that if we have a private well near the projected path of the pipeline, that the well should be tested. And then begins the catch-22, the Halliburton loophole, the unnamed chemicals. You would want to test your water for what is currently in it and the confirmation that fracked gas chemicals are not in it. Pretty pricey testing. It's out of sight for that. The 2006 Comprehensive Plan for the Town of Franklin, Section 2.1, Assets and Challenges, it lists agriculture as an asset to the area as well as the town's natural resources, specifically farmland, forest, clean water, and wildlife, to name a few. A challenge that was identified was the need for the town's natural resources to be protected and the protection of the water supply. The statistics for the survey, section 2.3, shows the right to farm was a planning area to protect, and that was 83% of the respondents, followed by natural resource protection of 82% of the respondents. In 2011, Governor Cuomo announced the Cleaner, Greener Communities Program. In 2013, the Cleaner, Greener Southern Tier Regional Sustainability Plan was produced through NYSERDA, and in 2014, an update to this plan was produced. We did not quite meet our goals in the Southern Tier for sustainable living. On March 24th, Governor Cuomo announced a $2.4 million, he announced that $2.4 million was awarded to the Southern Tier of the STREDC for grants to revitalize downtown rural and neighborhood centers. On March 18th, Governor Cuomo announced $30 million to the Southern Tier Agricultural Economic Development Initiative, in part to improve profitability and support farmers in better managing environmental resources. NYSERDA assessed the Southern Tier region as residential being first in energy use, followed by agriculture. With an eye towards sustainability, clean water, and improved economic profitability in agriculture, I would like our town to pursue some of that grant money. Try to reach some greener, cleaner energy goals. Biomass furnace for the school, manure to methane production and use. How can we get started? The way I see it, our future is not with fracked gas. It is not a clean energy. The end does not justify the means. We really do need to protect our drinking water for drinking. As it stands now, you cannot frack without water. There are whole counties on drought watch in Pennsylvania. Bradford County is under a warning. They have to ration their water right this very minute. The groundwater has not had a chance to recharge. I'm just saying, you can follow that. But the grant money and the push for the greener, alternative and sustainable energy, why can't we go after some of that? I just think having, prolonging everybody on gas is, you're cutting out what farming and farmers can offer in product with biomass and whatever, I didn't really hear much support for farmers in all of the grant monies and stuff that's been going on, near colleges and stuff like in Broome and wherever. But for here, I would love to see. That's why I said about the cows. 20 dairy farms, manure to methane, baby. They're producing that feedstock every day. I'll beg to feed the cows. I know they said in the NYSERDA, it says it takes about 500 head of cows to make the whatever the digester thingy, and then to the methane. But I think there's other processes where you don't where you're utilizing the manure for energy and heat, but you get products from it as well. I'm not that familiar with it.
I'm not either.
But I just for something to work with the wind farm, if that was going to happen, as it's the steady state fuel. But definitely, even a furnace for the school instead of gas. I mean, the country's been fracking gas for a long time now, and I have not seen stable gas prices.
Right.
They've gone down.
They're not gonna stay down.
Anybody else? Pete?
Yeah, it's up to 32,000 horsepower. I just came from the meeting over in Davenport. 30-inch pipe, and they probably have to put it to 25 to 50 feet away from the other one. And it's going to underloop at one point. They come out the other side and go on the other side. So some people that have the land, they're going to lose like 100 feet of their land completely by the time they're done with the two pipes.
Well, I got some information.
Some of them with 5 acres, they're going to have nothing left.
I'm going to the meeting tomorrow night because we have town meeting tonight.
I'll meet you down here.
Yep, and through the paper and stuff, they're saying they've got 560,000 cubic feet spoken for, supposedly Kinder Morgan. Is that what I read that? Yeah. And the foolish part is they've got that sold supposedly. Constitution has 600,000 cubic feet sold supposedly, right? Okay. If you put a compressor on, and I'm not saying it's the right thing to do or whatever, you can get away with one pipeline, because that one pipeline with a compressor will deliver up to 2 million cubic feet. So do we need more pipelines? Do we fight to get, let's have two, or no, once you have one, the second one, chances are is gonna come through, and maybe you could make some reason for, geez, if we don't have the market for it, why not go with one, maybe a smaller compressor, Pete? And, you know, I don't know, you know, take 1.5 million capacity, and you've got more supply than what they've got want for. So you can fight figures with figures, because that's what they're doing, is fighting, you know, they're telling, oh, we got this much sold, we can sell another 500,000, we can sell another 1 million, whatever. I mean, not to say a compressor station is right, but as what is worse, 3 pipelines and no compressors, or 1 pipeline and 1 compressor? And I'm not saying in Franklin, maybe Davenport, maybe Sydney, maybe somewhere else. That's just my thought on figures. You know, if you're talking that volume, you know, that 30-inch pipeline will put up to 2 million cubic feet. Well, if you got only 1.1 million spoken for, maybe you can say, you know, the other side is, hey, they want 1.2 million, they can do that with a 30-inch line and a smaller compressor and not tear the whole 100-foot right away, or 150-foot when you get a third pipeline. There's other ways to look at it and other ways to throw in, because, you know, anybody you can say no to. And the best, you know, to stop people, the best way, to try to control, manipulate, talk, conversation, is give them other options. You know, what do we need 3 pipelines for when one will do it? Let's have 1 50-foot right-of-way maintained, not 150 foot for 3 pipelines. How can we control it? How can we, you know, get them in agreement with, hey, let's control it. We don't want to be abused. If you abuse us once, it's bad. Abuse us 3 times, screaming's done. Yes, Pete.
I also wanted to add that both of them are open access pipes, so they're gonna add more. This is not it, so that would be the whole thing, to say no to them and get the hell out.
What do you mean?
And I told them to pack up the bags and go home,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times.
And they probably told you too, so I mean, it's a two-way street.
They could cut the pipe and put more pipes to it, and intersect into it.
Well, we're hoping to get, I mean, if it does happen, we'd love to get an outlet for Franklin. I mean, I think the majority of people would love to get some cheaper heat for their homes, but that's another thing down the road. I don't, you know. Okay, somebody else? Yes.
I do have a question with Sarah from Franklin.
Yep.
Has the location of the compressor station been determined, if it's gonna be in Franklin?
Yeah. You knew it was coming.
Depends, I mean, I just got maps from Kinder Morgan on Thursday. And it shows the 2 lines coinciding with each other. And there's, on those maps, there's nothing showing a compressor spot, you know, a mile each where. And, you know, but I've heard also it's from Bizzle Hill to Chamberlain Hill. That's also been out there too. But to say they're not, you know, they don't have to tell you where they want it yet. They're still in the planning stage, quote unquote. They know where they want it. I just don't know where it is.
I talked to them last night. They said they had decided on, they've identified 3 to 4 sites in Franklin, and they're going to be doing site visits in the next month.
Mm-hmm.
And they hope to finalize the decision before they put out the revised sets of maps and reports in mid to late June.
Okay, well, we're hopefully gonna see them tomorrow night and talk to them, but voice my opinion, maybe. So is that, Liz, does that answer your
Yeah, I
question?
just wanted to know if the town board had any, you know, concrete.
I've got the maps here that I got
Information.
Thursday that just show them coinciding across the ridge, basically. To go across Dr. Rich Road, across 28, over up on Grange Hall Road, up and over to Davenport, and coming from Sydney. But it doesn't say, you know, between X and Y is where the compressor station, but you know, it's been known it's between, you know, the area. So whether it's true or not, I hope not. I'd like to see it in Schoharie, because Davenport's not going to help us any more than Sydney. We're going to, I mean, if there is pollutants and stuff, Franklin's not going to miss out on it. The wind's going to take it.
Jeff, I have a question that's not related to the pipeline. Am I able to ask?
Oh, no, that can't be. Yes.
Does Franklin have a law about how many unregistered vehicles can be on a person's property?
I believe there
Or
is.
junk
I believe there is.
campers, or
Unregistered vehicles, I think there is.
where should I find that?
It'd be in zoning.
Zoning?
Yep, and the only stipulation is you have to sign written complaint, a written complaint against the individuals. And I don't agree with it, but that's how it's handled. If you don't have a signed
Who does the
complaint,
written complaint go to?
to the code enforcement officer,
Okay, and who is
which
that?
is Mark Jacobs. He's
Is
in
he
the.
Franklin?
He's from Walton, I believe, and he's got office hours from 5 to 7 on Wednesday nights.
P.O. Box 63.
P.O. Box 63. But he's there between 5 and 7 on Wednesday nights normally.
So is that only applicable to unregistered vehicles? What about campers? And
I would say it's still a registered vehicle. I would think it might adhere to campers too. You're allowed, I don't know how many you're allowed. There's a number that you can have without being against the law or, but I'm not sure what the numbers are. It probably is explained in zoning. But I know there is an issue out there. There's no doubt in some spots. But the only way the code enforcement officer will respond to it is by a written complaint. Okay? Okay. I'm gonna bring up a resolution that I put together. It's really kind of, it might hit the spot here, I'm not sure. The town board of Franklin is against a compressor station being situated in the town of Franklin until all environmental questions have been satisfied. And that's not the word, we're against it until we get all the information we can. And that's pro and against. I mean, it probably doesn't mean anything, but at least it does, the town board does want more information. We want to be educated on the good and the bad, not just the bad. And we need that information to come forward. And so that's a resolution that I am, hopefully one of the board members will agree to and bring up. It's quite simple. It's, I don't think harmless. It does at least, I know last month Cindy brought it, I think a little more stringent, more direct, and with the afterthought, it's something we've thought about, and we need the information, and we're not afraid to ask. And that's what I would like to see proposed if we can, and go from here and get more information on the good and the bad, because there's good and bad to everything. Even farming, isn't that terrible? But that's up to the board. That's what I'm presenting to them.
No.
If they're for or against, table it, whatever you want to do.
I make a motion to move on
On the resolution,
Second.
we have a second. Any more discussion?
This is just for a study.
Just for them to get information, that's all, just to get information on the environmental aspects of a compressor station. The pipeline, I think that's more of a, the concern, I think, of a lot of people. The pipeline's terrible, but this compressor station is a next pipeline. Or on this one that we're possibly getting now, but that seems to be the biggest concern. To me, that is a concern. I'm more concerned about